Hello everybody, welcome to Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport in Phoenix, Arizona. Today we'll be doing a flight in the Carenado CJ2 525A over to Telluride in Colorado. Now this was requested by a viewer called Look to the Left, and he wanted to know if I'm going to fly around Telluride, and if I do, if I could do the fun approach and landing on runway 27. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. The winds have actually been favoring 27, and that'll be the approach we'll do, and I'll get into more of that as we go on. But yeah, I didn't even have to add in the weather myself. That's one thing I was going to do. If I had to, I was going to add in the weather myself, but actually the live real-time weather is favoring 27, so we won't have to do that. So departing 7 right today, we'll be doing the Yotes departure, and then that'll bring us up to the rest of our route, just a few waypoints up to Telluride here, where we'll come in with the 9 localizer, and then you basically circle to land on 27, and yeah, it's a pretty fun approach. I've never done it before. I've watched videos, and it looks great, so I'm looking forward to doing that today. So here we are in the CJ2. We've got the number 2 engine started. We're going to start the number 1 and get everything up, and then we'll be out of here. We already have our plan added into the CDU, so fairly nice day out here in Arizona. Not too many clouds. It's going to get a lot clearer once we get out of here. Winds are really calm at this airport, but favoring the 7 right, or the 70 side of the airport. And everything seems to have stabilized here. Let's go ahead and get the avionics on, and that looks good, and get our lights up. And turn these on bright. Alright, we're all set to go. So conveniently 7 right is right here. We're over by the Swift aviation hangar. And like I said, the entrance 7 right is right here, so we don't have to do too much taxiing today. This is Flightbeam, Phoenix, Arizona. Great airport. And we'll be going over to the Telluride that we're going to is by Orbx, which is a great version of Telluride. Only flight I've done on this channel out of there is I don't remember where I flew to. Maybe Lake Tahoe or something, but I flew out of there one time. And I actually have never flown. I haven't flown into Telluride since FSX. If you guys remember that FSX mission where you do a land on runway 9, but I've never flown in to 27. So this is a first for me, and I'm always up for new things, a new challenge, and yeah, I decided to do this one. I get a lot of requests for airports and routes. A lot of them are obscure airports that they either don't make scenery for, or I don't have the scenery. And generally, I'm not going to take those requests because I don't want to fly into, especially if it's an obscure airport. The scenery is not going to look good. And sometimes I found that the sceneries are just terrible with trees across the runway and stuff, so I tend to avoid those. But this was a great idea, which is why I did it. I have this airport, I like this airport, and I wasn't too familiar with the 2.7 approach, so I had to do a lot of research to figure that out. And I'll get into more of that later. We're getting ready to depart out of here. We're just holding short right now. Get our TCAS on. Lights are all set. And we're ready to get out of here. Still have the pitot static heat off. I'll get that on once we're in the air. You can put it on when you're on the ground, as long as it's not on any longer than 2 minutes. Okay, let's line up on 7 right. We're going to be in the air for about an hour and a half. Wheels up to wheels down. Not too long of a flight at all. I wanted to go out of Eagle County, but I've done a few flights out of Eagle County recently, and I wanted something that was at least a little bit longer, so I decided to do Phoenix. That, you know, that was more the range I was looking for. Alright, so it's a good thing in this aircraft, in any aircraft, get a good lineup, especially in this thing. It's real sensitive with the rudder. So here we go. B1, rotate. Gear up. And we are on our way, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to fly the runway heading, and then we'll be making a left turn. Going to go up to 37,000 feet today, which should take us about 18 minutes in this aircraft. Takes a while. Put the static heater on, and we need to get the yaw damper on. Move the armrest out of the way. I'm going to keep hand flying it for now. I like this plane by Carenado, who seems to do most of the corporate jets. None of them are quite study level, but it's still pretty decent. And so if you're looking for one, that's who makes it. Starting the left-hand turn. Flying over the great city of Arizona. I haven't been to Arizona in a few years. I always liked that city. Spent almost a week there once. Great little place. And I've said this before on my other videos, but Arizona is one of those states where you get there and it's completely different from everywhere else. You immediately see cactus, the ground is and dirt is a lot more red in color. It looks different than most other places. So that's one of the few states that's like that. Colorado is like that too, of course, because all the beautiful mountains you have. And I've been fortunate to spend a decent amount of time out in Colorado. I also love it out there. But if you can, definitely visit Arizona. I was mainly in the Phoenix and Tucson area. Got to see the great museum out there, the Aviation Museum, which I believe was in Tucson, I think. But that was a really nice museum they have there. Lots to see outside. It's not so much indoors, it's just there's so many planes to walk around and look at. Old Air Force One planes and all kinds of good stuff. So wintertime is approaching fast. Should have some nice storms we can fly in. I'm gonna adjust the pitch just a little bit. We are flying with the autopilot now. There's no auto throttle on this aircraft. You control it yourself. Just have to watch over it. You know, definitely don't take your eyes off of it, especially when you're on your way out. We're back in the cockpit, still on our climb out. We're gonna look at some of the mountains here a little. Well, they're not too much mountains, but certainly some interesting terrain. We'll be seeing the mountains later, that's for sure. So I want to thank you guys for taking the poll that I had. It seems like you guys want to see, I think the 737-800 is winning right now, which is actually the primary aircraft I do flights with. So that's interesting. The second place would be the A320, which I do have videos coming soon with that. I was actually going to do that this week, and then I got this comment, and I decided to do this one. Like I said, I get a lot of requests for flights. Just sometimes the comment I get just really intrigues me to do it. So this was one of those, and yeah, I liked it so much that I, wanted to give a shout out to the individual that requested it. So finally, approaching our cruise altitude. It actually took a little bit longer than 18 minutes. So, but this aircraft takes a while to, especially get up to an elevation like that. But we'll be up here for a while before we make our way down. And even though we're at 37 feet, I believe the pattern altitude we'll be flying later is about 11,000 feet. So it's not like we're going all the way down. And there we go, we've hit 37,000 feet. A little bit of clouds up here on the right. One thing about Carenado, they seem to have the best modeled cabins that I've ever seen. And I like that they do that, that they don't just worry about the cockpit. They really work on the back too. The window shades all go down, the tables come out. I mean, it's you can interact with it too. It's not just static. And it's just phenomenal work that they do. You can pull the curtain back, for the cockpit. All kinds of great stuff. I mean, people can say what they want about these aircraft, that they're not study level and all that, but they're still great, and especially when it's the only thing out there, that these are the only corporate jets really, so yeah, I still like them. Still fun to fly. Alright, we're beginning our descent now. We're approaching Colorado soon, and we'll be starting our approach into Telluride. Perfect day to do it. It's in all ways, you know, with the winds, it's pretty clear over there, out that way. So it just happened to really work out. And like I said, I was going to, you know, if the weather wasn't, you know, chances were the weather wasn't going to allow me to do it. So I was just going to set up the custom weather and make the winds the correct direction. But they on their own were already, they were in the 2.7 side. So if you want to do this approach, this is the chart you'll need. You'll need the localizer runway 9, and you're going to fly that, and then you'll circle to land 2.7. And there is no published chart for 2.7, just that one. And the information for it, I really had to look around for it, because they don't really tell you how to come in through 2.7, except for the circle to land stuff. But I actually found out, I watched a few videos. There's a YouTuber out there called Premier One Driver. He flies the Premier. And I was reading in the comments, somebody asked a question. He said the only way to come into 2.7 is to fly the approach into 9, and that's how I actually learned how to do it, because the only other information I found was on, I believe, the Boeing website. They mentioned it, and it was still kind of vague what they said. They didn't really, they talked about the noise abatement procedures and what to avoid, the neighborhoods to avoid when you're flying in, but they didn't mention that you actually fly the 9 approach. So otherwise, if it wasn't for his, you know, the information on his YouTube comments thread that he shared with everybody, I would not have known that you fly the 9 localizer approach. So check him out. He has a video of he's actually doing the flight and landing 2.7 in the Premiere. So yeah, I had to watch a few videos, and yeah, like I said, it was really that comment that got me, because watching people do it, it's kind of hard to tell where they're at exactly in relations to the airport when you're just looking out the cockpit window. So that really helped me out. So I haven't really done any circle to land approaches before, at least not one with this pattern. So it should be good. And we're about to make our turn. It's coming up, and we'll be turning just a second. I'm going to start early too, because by the time we get over there, just looking off the map, by the time we make the turn, we'll be lined up. The winds at Telluride right now are coming out at 260. They're about 9 knots, and I think they're gusting a little higher than that. The max tailwind in the CJ2 is 10 knots, so 9 is close enough, and if it's gusting over that, you do not want to land with that kind of tailwind onto 9. So that's why we're doing the 2.7. That's why anyone would do the 2.7 is for that reason, for the winds. Otherwise, it's always you always land on 9 and depart on 2.7. short turn. And the reason you want to do the 9 localizer also is that on the map it draws the path you take. Except when you circle to land 27, I don't advise following the line they draw for that, because you're going to go too far into the neighborhoods there, where they want you to avoid for the noise abatement. At least on this map. So if you can see it, the airport is kind of at our 10 o'clock right now. We're going to start flying out this way a little more, because we're going to make a turn. It's kind of a sharp turn onto 27. You have to stay left of the road. You don't want to fly over the neighborhoods. Keep the runway in sight the whole time. Otherwise, if you lose sight of the runway, you have to actually do a missed approach procedure, so try to keep it in sight. This would be easier with the Oculus Rift on. The airport is just coming up out of the window right there, out of the, yeah, off the window right there. You can see the PAPI lights, otherwise it would be hard to see. So I'm going to stay right here to give myself enough room to make the turn. We're on the downwind. We're about to turn onto the base. We're pretty much at the end of the runway now, so we're going to start the turn. So the best thing to do is, if you see the road down there, just to stay to the left of that road. I didn't look up which one it is, or what that road is called, but you can kind of see it, so stay to the left of that, and just follow it down this way, and then you'll be curving in.
500. 500. 500. 500. 500.
Alright, here we go.
One thousand. 400, 300, 200, minimum 200, minimum 100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Alright, that was a fun one to do. Try to get stopped here. The brakes on this are kind of squirrely. I need to turn around and back taxi, but yeah, the differential brake kind of gets you. There's no auto brake on this aircraft, so I'm gonna turn back around and taxi in. Got a couple of replays for you I'm going to show you right now. I got one from the back in the cabin, which is a very exciting view, and then we'll do one tower view of the landing. So stay tuned, that's coming up next. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to do that. Easily, I'm putting that into the top 10 approaches that I've done for scenic and the fun level.
300, 200, minimums. 100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. $500. 1,000. 1,000.
For some reason, it puts the call outs out here when you do the replay, even back in the cabin. I'm not sure why, but
400, 300, minimums.
just leaving them in.
Minimums.
Look at
100,
that view.
50, 40,
Even
30,
in the simulator, the views are great. It's incredible.
10.
And alright, we are back on the runway, and we're about to exit and go park and call it a day. Now, one thing I forgot to do is turn the pitot static heat off. And as I said earlier, you don't want that on for any more than 2 minutes while you're on the ground. And I forgot to turn it off because I immediately cut to doing the replays, because the longer you go, like if you land and then you go and you park and it takes you, a few minutes to go park, the longer you go, the more weird things happen when you're trying to play the replay back. So I normally, after I land and taxi off a little bit, I like to go straight into the replay, and sometimes when I come back, I forget to do things. So, yeah, I forgot to turn off the static heat, and maybe we'll do this sooner than 2 minutes. Probably not, but it's okay. I mean, it's just a simulator. There's no damage to the pitos or anything. So, but it's just one of those things that you want to turn off after you land. So we're going to go up here, we're going to park next to this, looks like a Cessna 172 or 82. We'll park next to that. Alright, parking brake is set. Let's get these engines off. Sometimes the click spots on these I don't have a hard time finding. There we go. Ignition off, the avionics, and get these lights. Alright everybody, thank you so much for coming along on this ride. It was a fun one to do today. Everybody, you take care out there, and I'll see you next time.